now. We in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now. We in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
As you can tell, last year it was an off year, but we reloaded and now it is our boss year. Seated back there and yeah, we got the badger. Don't forget Marshawn and don't forget the pass rush. Jameis QB1 dropping down to MT. Ball handed off the Alvin with the quick feet. So when you see the Saints marching, yeah, we gon' trouble you. At the Super Bowl party eating on them double. We in the dome right now. We in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now. We in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of the NewOrleans.Football podcast. I'm Nick Underhill, joined as always by Kevin Washington. The show is presented by Sant CPA, and we are coming to you live from the Better Call Bado podcast studio. Kevin, what's going on with you, man?
That song, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Bun, the new intro song. We're new year, new song, new era, leveling up. We'll be in the actual podcast studio within a couple of weeks. We're in the temporary one right now, so everything's up, man. We got that song by Bun is just
it's hard.
It's outrageous. I've been
all day. It's like that number one than Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick might want to move his release date. That's all
he might push it off a bun for real.
R.I.P. to a hood classic. The
who that played,
man? That the song held us down forever. Shout out to Pat for hooking us up with that. That thing was. It was kind of iconic, but I mean the lyrics, it was just past its time. The lyrics,
I think we had Devin Brosfield in there or something, right?
Yeah, So it was time. But so we got a good show today. Some good topics. They're in the show notes. But before we do that, I am gonna do some business. So if you are a business owner needing some guidance with your daily accounting, then you'll see at CPA can get your finances in order. They provide relevant accounting information, detailed analysis, and clear communication in a timely manner. Call today, 318-321-2765, or visit santcpa.com. And if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, Maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims, you better call Bado at 504-323-4777 or 985-677-1085 for your free consultation and case review. BadoLaw.com. And as always, check out our guys, Firehouse Subs, Veterans Boulevard location. Great people, do a lot for the community. They got good subs. Go eat one, and you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, and if you need your competition slandered, then come and holler at us as always.
we do have a couple ad packages. One of them is geared towards social media. We're trying to get some people to sponsor the video podcast highlights that we put out. We have a lot of social media followers and people watch us. So if you want to get your name out there, hit us up. Those are for sale for the season. So we'll be looking at that. But before we do that, I'm going to get my funk flex on and I'm playing the song again.
Nick and Kev, I got you. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
As you can tell, last year it was an off year, but we reloaded and now it is our boss year. Seated back there and yeah, we got the badger. Don't forget Marshawn and don't forget the pass rush. Jameis QB1 dropping down to MT. Ball handed off the Alvin with the quick feet. So when you see the Saints marching, yeah, we gon' trouble you. At the Super Bowl party eating on them double. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Paul Bunyan on the track. Paul Bunyan on the track. Get at him,
Right.
Bun on Twitter. Legend. This songs are legendary. All right, so we got to talk about the Saints. What do you want to talk about? What are we doing? What are we doing here?
Well, I think I'm at a point now where I've come down off the track enough. It's like listening to Lil Jon before you go in the club. Like that's like the pre-pod music. It's like you just jumping around playing it before you jump into it. But so I think we're at a logical point in the offseason, right? So the offseason is broken down to pre-draft free agency. Then you have the draft, and then you have post-draft free agency. Or you can even add a third one in. You can say free agency, first wave, second wave, draft, third wave, etc. However you want to, kind of put it in. And Saints, they were a little bit quiet at the start part. At the beginning, they signed Marcus May, they signed some defensive linemen, some things, etc. Kind of like more depth moves for the most part. Other than May, I thought May was a significant signing. But other than that, you can kind of say they've been a little quiet on that front. The draft came, and then they made the splash move for Honey Badger, who is, he's going to have this triumphant return to New Orleans, and a lot of fanfare came with that, et cetera. And we're still excited about that. So I think it's a good time to kind of take a step back, look at the team, see what they are, see where they are, see the things that they've addressed, and check out, some of the areas where we feel like they maybe still have to do a little bit more work. So we'll keep it simple. We'll just break it down into, what the musts are, what the needs are, and then the wants. So obviously we'll start with the must. So at this point in the offseason, right, we know that, like I said, we're in the third phase of free agency after the draft. Do the Saints still have any needs on their team that you feel like they must fill for this team to be competitive?
No, nope, I don't think so. I think that they've kind of done a little bit of everything, that they addressed the biggest ones. The only remaining one for me coming out of the draft was safety, and they addressed that, I think, probably maybe kind of sort of possibly before the draft. But I think getting Honey Badger in here settled that. And so like we'll just transition into the next one's needs. Maybe a need at running back, maybe a need at defensive tackle, maybe a need at tight end. We'll see on those. DT, I think, at the top they're okay. They got a lot of flexibility. There's guys that can play inside and out. I'd just like to see maybe someone emerge is that run stuffing type of player.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they got, the Tyler Davison of this crew, but those guys emerge, it seems like, every year, and it's almost always fine. So
Stallworth was 1 year. He was like an undrafted free agency, run free agent who was good 1 year.
Them spending money on Malcolm Brown, I think, kind of made people think that was a position where that, like, you gotta spend a lot of money, or not a lot, but a decent amount of money to address it. And like that just isn't true. Like they tend to find those guys. Jalen Dalton, I thought, could have been somebody that was a contributor. He's not on the team anymore. Just unfortunately, just pack injuries 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
I think he was going to be a solid NFL player too.
I do too. Yeah,
and he just got derailed a little bit. Running back, I think, is possibly a need.
They probably feel the same way on some levels, right? Showing that they brought in Michelle.
Yeah, so I think that's something that they could address, maybe should address. Mark Ingram's getting older. I think if Alvin gets suspended, you need somebody to help carry the load. I think they saw last year that Tony Jones Jr. probably isn't quite there yet. Maybe he comes back and surprises people. So you give him a chance. Abram Smith, I think, is somebody that's an exciting UDFA.
What do you think about him?
I mean, we're going to see. Theoretically, I think he fits a lot of the stuff they do. Baylor was kind of like an inside-outside zone running team. So he got all his yards and schemes at the Saints primarily deploy. So I think he's a fit there. He's a physical runner. I like the idea of him. You just kind of got to see what he can do.
Yeah, I like him too. He's kind of like that one cut runner, and that's exactly what you saw from him. Like he makes that one cut, he put his foot in the ground and he runs. He's a physical guy too, which I think it kind of is good with Alvin kind of being Alvin's physical, but just when you look at like how it was at the beginning of Alvin's career when him and Mark were sharing the backfield, I think that's probably the best role for him, in my opinion, compared to last year. So if he can come in and fill that role, I think that would be a nice spot on the team for him.
And the other thing too is that they need to get people eating more of those carries between the tackles. I thought Alvin's usage there was too high last year. You don't want him taking all those hits.
I remember you would text me during games. You were like, "Man, that is not what you want to see from Alvin Kamara."
If they can preserve him and just lower that burden, I think it's better off for everybody. I know that there's kind of been like this push, like they need to get like a pass catching back if Alvin's out. Like I don't necessarily know that that's the case. I don't think this offense is what it used to be. I think if you got somebody that's a capable pass catcher, that's fine. But I don't think going to the running back is a primary component of Jameis Winston's game. So I think you're fine kind of there if he's out. Like he's not looking to check down. Like that's just not his nature. He's a different type of quarterback than Drew. So the offense is going to evolve with that. You're better with that type of player. You're better with that type of outlet. But I don't know if it's this like critical, how does the offense operate type of situation.
If you're the Miami Dolphins, if you're the Miami Dolphins, you want to get one of those guys.
Well, if you're Drew Brees, you got to have that guy to run your offense. You have to, but like that's just not. It's just not the same with Jameis. And then tight end. Tight end's the last one.
So are you are you saying these are needs or
needs,
needs. Okay, so you're saying needs. Okay.
They need somebody to emerge at tight end. And I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but like there's a piece of me that thinks Taysom can be part of the answer there. And I think that he's going to contribute something. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's going to be enough to satisfy the need at tight end. I don't know if, at this point, Adam Troutman's got to show me. I think Juwan Johnson can be a player. He's got to show me he can do more. Taysom's got to show me he can do something.
You know what Vanette is at this point in his career.
I would feel better with just one more Y type tight end that is going to be able to go out and get 500 yards. And I don't know if they have that player. They might, but they might not. And, that's a little bit of a concern for me until we see somebody emerge there. It doesn't have to be tight end heavy, but they need to have a tight end that can do something in this offense.
Okay. Yeah, I think I kind of for musts, I kind of feel in the same area as you did. Obviously, I don't think there are any musts. I think once they got safety taken care of and they addressed wide receiver and offensive tackle in the draft, I think reasonable minds, most people can agree that they addressed the must there. For needs, I looked at running back and wide receiver as not wide receiver. Wide receiver is more of it's kind of in between want and need, right? I think they could use another guy there, but I don't think it's absolutely mandatory. So it kind of falls, in between those both areas. I think running back is a definite need, in my opinion. If you just tell me one position where it's an absolute need, I definitely say running back. For wide receivers, I think, I'm kind of looking at how things are playing out, and I was just looking at some of the free agent guys today that are still on the market, and even if it's not Jarvis, there's still some guys out there that can come in if they decide to go that route. There's other names there, and I was just looking at some of the lists. Like obviously Landry is still on the list. Cole Beasley is someone. Emmanuel Sanders, who was a Bill last year, is still a free agent, and then obviously Odell Beckham Jr., which I'm pretty sure he'll be back in LA. But those are the only two positions I had down for need. I think you can make I think you made a strong case for some of the other positions. Second DT, shot total with someone who has experience. He's been there. He had like 1 year he kind of had a little bit of a down year where it seemed like he was on the bubble a little bit. I thought last year he bounced back a little bit. So that was good to see for him. But I do think DT and tight end are a couple of positions you could lump in there also. What about wants? I'm guessing wide receiver may be in your want.
I think wide receiver would be want. I don't think it's something that they have to do. I don't think it's something. Yeah. I think you're okay with Mike Thomas and Chris Olave is your 1-2. That's a pretty reasonable investment in that position. Mike needs to be good for that to be the bet you're making though. And if they're making a bet on that and they don't do anything else, they got to be right this year. They can't be.
That's why I put it at need, because Mike. I just need to see Mike healthy, and then I feel a little bit better.
They know, so they need to be conducting themselves with that information in mind, and they need to know actually what's going on this year. And I think they do. Cody Burns went out and visited him. Da went out and visited him. I think they have a pretty good feel for what's going on there, where he's at.
Yeah, last year.
So we'll see.
Again with that.
Yeah, we'll see. But assuming he's going to be ready to play, it's a need, and if it's not, it's a must. Like that's kind of where it's at. I don't even think you you hit that middle level of, or I think it's a want or a must. It's not a need.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
that's
one or the
true.
other. So
That's fair.
I
That's
think,
fair.
like I said, I think you're okay with Mike Thomas as your number one, Chris Olave as your number two, Callaway / Traquan Smith is your three, Deontay Hardy, is your fourth guy, deep threat. I think
Mhm.
that's a fine group. You can win games with that, and if you can't win games with that, you got big problems. And that's just
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at with it. You can obviously always be better at that position. Other teams have more, of course, they have more. When you look at the weakness of tight end, maybe you'd like to see wide receiver be a little bit stronger. Maybe they know something about tight end. We'll see how it all comes together. But reasonably, wide receiver isolated, they have a reasonable depth chart. I don't know where it would rank in the NFL, but it's probably average. And if you have a top 5 defense, average wide receiver core, Alvin Kamara, all first and second rounders on your offensive line, like you should be able to win games with that roster.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, I think I think of the offense as weapons, right? If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core is probably not good. Like, right? You don't just stick at that and say, "Wow, they're amazing," but then you add Travis Kelce along with you know, uh, um, then some other guys around them. And you didn't. No one ever said Mahomes, right? So they had a couple of guys who were really good at what they did, and in turn, that kind of allowed the other guys around them to play up a level, right?
Yep.
So those guys improved the play of the guys around them, and so I think if you can get Alvin, he's healthy obviously, but he has a suspension coming. We have the situation with Mike and his injury and his ankle, and hopefully that's 100%. So I think that can be a somewhat similar situation where you have a couple of guys who are absolutely elite at what they do, and then you have guys around them who can they role are not as pertinent as those other two guys, so it allows them to play up a little bit and get less attention. So Olave comes in. And if it's week one and Olave and Kamara and Mike Thomas is on the field, we know Olave runs good routes. We know he's elite. We know he's fast. But you're not going to double him over one of those other two guys until he starts making you do that, right? He has to earn in the NFL, you earn the ability to double, right? And same thing for some of those other guys. Marquez Callaway, he doesn't look very good as number one, but as a number three, I think that maybe he's Traquan Smith, he's I think we've said that for a while that maybe he's a better number 3 than 2. So I think some of the guys around him, some of the guys around Mike and Alvin and even Olave to a further extent, it can allow those guys to elevate their game a little bit. And even Taysom, you mentioned him being, a factor. I think that's fair. Now his health, I want to see Taysom on the field. He had a really serious injury that, we'll see. He is started in there. I'm not assuming, but that's serious injury. I do think that's something that I'm in wait and see mode with. But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Just real quick thought from you. How do you right now, right? If you just had to guess, right, and this is off season, this is like super speculation season. So none of these takes are written in ink. This is all pencil with a bit fat erasure on the back of it. But like, how would you see like some of the wide receivers being deployed, right? Like just packages, etc. Because you have some guys. You have Traquan, you have Hardy, you have Callaway. So you have those three guys, and then and some of the other weapons around them. So how do you see those guys being deployed at wide out?
I think it'll be kind of just natural how it always is. I mean, they're going to mix and match them in different sets. I don't think Olave will probably be out there in a lot of run sets. I think that you kind of got to protect him from some of those situations. But that's just going to be probably the way that it kind of plays out. I think Traquan Smith will be out there probably more on 12 personnel type plays and in heavy sets because he is your blocking wide receiver. So I think that's just going to kind of be how it goes. But I expect Mike and Olave to get the bulk of the snaps, and then everybody else to kind of mix in a little bit. And look, one of the things is you're talking about Callaway. Like people act like he's like a bum. Like the dude had 700 yards last year.
Yeah, I know.
He's not.
I know.
He's not a bad player. He was just playing in a role that was probably a little bit above where he was at.
He's not a number one, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, and he could continue to develop. He's still a young player, but he got 700 yards with a lot of the attention going to him because there really wasn't anywhere else to focus the attention. So That's a
Mhm.
situation that I think is a little bit unfair in how people talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, he got 700 yards because he got targeted like a number one receiver. I think he had like 89 targets last year. Um,
Yeah. That's not
46
ideal.
catches, I believe 698 yards, 6 touchdowns. Yeah, that's right. But in a lesser role, I think he's going to be able to take advantage of his opportunities. He's going to see coverage that's a little more commensurate
Right.
with his skill set.
Right.
And I think he'll be able to take advantage of it. And I think last year probably put him in a situation where he gained confidence and experience, and he probably grew from that. And I think he's going to come back next year and be a better player. Again, if you can get Jarvis Landry, you get Jarvis Landry. I'm not
Oh, man.
saying everything's great below Olave, but it's fine. Traquan Smith is a fine player. Callaway's a fine player. If you get them in their right roles, I think that they'll excel and do a good job in those
Yeah.
roles. And you just got to keep them where they should be. It's not Callaway's fault that they mismanaged the depth chart and he got placed in a position he shouldn't be handling. Like, you don't
And he was
ask
a rookie last year too, wasn't he? Huh? Like,
who?
was that his first year? Callaway.
No.
That was
But
his second.
you don't ask a dentist to do heart surgery. Just because they got a doctorate, it doesn't mean it's the same kind of doctorate. You just got to keep them in the right position, and that's just kind of how it played out last year. So if you get him back worrying about root canals and stuff, like, he's going to thrive. But that's just not the situation that he should have been in. And I think some of the conversation is a little bit unfair to him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was trying to look up and see when I'm trying to see if he was a rookie last year or that was his second year. I don't know why I went blank on that, but yeah, that is a good point. I mean, he's someone who, he got a ton of experience last year, and so if he can build on that experience without having nearly as much pressure on him. And by the way, he,
And no, he's second year. The COVID year was his first year.
okay, got it. And on top of all that, I mean, he was going through the quarterback carousel, the entire season too, right? So there were a lot of factors that kind of went against him, kind of experiencing, more success than maybe he possibly could have. So, I mean, when you think you got Mike Thomas and you don't have Mike Thomas, like, man, that's just tough sledding, right? You don't lose Mike Thomas's and continue to run your offense as you did, and it's and so it's definitely he's definitely someone who I would like to see make a jump this year, and I think he's in a position to do so. And I mean, also Hardy's back there, right? I mean, I think he grew as a receiver some last year. I think he's still probably primarily a special teams guy and more of a specialist. If you're talking about his usage on the offensive side of the ball, but he's someone that showed growth at the receiver position also. So and him and Jameis seem to have some rapport in the deep ball, so it's something that maybe they can build off on. So there's some guys there. There's some opportunity for some guys to kind of take a step up this year, and like I said, it should be easier with more weapons around them. You brought up Jarvis, and that made me think of Tyrann Mathieu. Talk a little bit about that contract, because some of you spoke about the details today, and just kind of what his contract looked like. So yeah, just speak a little bit about that contract. And it got reported as a 3-year, $33 million contract, but I think once the details come out, we know that stuff is always a little different. So yeah, just elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, there's room for some upside. It's really worth 28.3 2-year.
Okay.
It's really like a 2-year deal.
2-year, 19, 18 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third year is not guaranteed, but granted they could keep him around for that. First year cap hit $3.4 million, signing bonus $9.5 million, which is what this podcast guessed it would be.
Hey.
But that's just I mean, it's really like a 2-year deal. I think it's a good deal for him. It's good value.
It is.
It's where he probably should have been paid. I don't feel like he really lost value on it. I don't feel like the Saints overpaid. It's one of those deals where, like, it just really feels right. Yeah, it feels like it's the right spot for it. So that's where it's at. There's some bonuses on there. They got to make the playoffs. All their bonuses right now are written to where if they make the playoffs or they win a playoff game, because that makes them not likely to be earned. And then when they're not likely to be earned, they don't count on the cap during that year, and then you do have to pay it out. And then the next year, if there's a bonus, you can just reword it somehow, win one more game than the previous year, one more yard than the previous year.
Yeah.
So when those are likely to be earned. So in the case of Callaway, if you gave him a contract, little bit of cap teaching here, I guess. But an unlikely to be earned bonus is when it exceeds what happened the year before. So using Callaway, if you said 7 touchdowns, he gets $1 million. That would be unlikely to be earned. If it was 5 million, it would be likely to be earned, and then you got to count it on your cap. So the Saints
Yeah.
always keep their bonuses one step ahead of what the guys or what the team did the year before.
Okay,
So
I
this
see.
year they've been tying a lot of the bonuses to making the playoffs, or it'll
I
be,
see.
and if they go to the playoffs and don't win a game next year, they'd possibly renegotiate them and say with a
Yeah,
playoff win or something like that, or you up the yardage or the touchdowns or
I
whatever.
got it.
So that's
I
just kind
got
of how
it.
that stuff works.
I
But
got
yeah, I
it.
think it's a good deal. 2 years, he's going to be here for sure for 2 years. It's guaranteed for 2 years. 18 million on there, I think, in total guarantees. So,
You said 28.3. It would be weird. It'd be fun if he got his $28.3 million bonus against the Falcons. I had
that's
to
a
do that for
total value of their
yeah,
contract.
yeah. I had to
28.3.
do that for chat though, because
Yeah.
chat's having fun with it. As always, we'll slander the Falcons every time we get a chance here. But yeah, I just want to just chat real quick about the details there. What about any wants on the team? Just if there are any wants, just last part of that first topic.
Yeah, we kind of hit them. I mean, I don't really.
Yep. Same ones, okay. Yeah, my wants is I guess I put tight end in DT. And I wrote Jared Cook name down. It's like desperate at this point.
He's a free agent.
Just bring him back. Just bring somebody. Ebron is still out there, and also put interior O line. I put interior O line as like kind of a position I would like to maybe see them add someone. I know they had the rookie from last year, who Landon Young, who got hurt early, but I would like
He's a tackle. He's a tackle.
He's a tackle. Okay, I thought he had like versatility to move inside, but okay, all right. But yeah, just some interior O line depth would be nice. Hurst is someone that can play all over. Eric Flowers is out there. Quentin Spain is another guy I wrote name. I just looked at some free agents and I wrote down DT. Sheldon Richardson was an interesting name out there. I was like, that guy is, he still is just like a good, productive vet, right? He's not going to take your team over the top, but he's a good player. And I was thinking like last year, Pasenyo came in and it was kind of I don't want to say an under the radar signing, but he's not a signing that people made a lot of noise about. But man, when he was healthy, he was good, right? He was good. And I think he was good because he was on the line with Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan, David Onyemata was on the field at that point. But I do think that, when you put a player around that much talent, then you can get the best out of him. So some of those guys, he's someone I thought about. Linval Joseph is a big run stopping guy. Akeem Hicks, the guy from the Bengals, Ogunjobi, I think he was on the visit recently, and then Malik Jackson. So those are just some of the guys I wrote down.
Ogunjobi used to play for the Browns, right?
The Browns and the Bengals, I think.
Yeah, he had the best game of his career against the Saints.
Oh yes, that's right.
Absolutely absurd game.
That's right.
Yeah. It was unbelievable how well he played against him. I thought they had a superstar player, because that game was early in the season.
I remember.
And then he was fine. Like, he was a fine player the rest of the way. But that game, I thought I saw the truth, man. Like, this guy I thought he was going to be the future of the position. Yeah, he was killing it. He was killing it. That game was unbelievable.
Yeah, they couldn't block him at all. Like, he was just like throwing offensive linemen all over the place that game. I remember that was Cleveland too. You're absolutely right.
Was that the game where Johnny Manziel played his first stop? So it might have been. Yeah.
I don't that I don't remember. But
yeah,
I just remember I just remember that guy going all pro and getting a gold jacket from that game. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. I'm glad you brought that up. So but yeah, running joke with Sean Payton Field's still here. He'd sign them, right? Guys that had success against him. But yeah, so those are some guys. Those are just some free agent guys that are still out there who vets. They'll probably be signing in the upcoming weeks right before training camp, or if some team, you guys know the routine. If some team sustains an injury to a specific position during training camp, then those vets tend to show up on those teams during those times. So but the good thing is that they don't have any major needs left on the team, just some high-level needs, which, that's not a horrible place to be. So, yeah. So moving forward, so this weekend is the rookie minicamp, and man, it just feels good that, you just go and just see that stuff. And, it's just, I don't know, it got canceled some years, and I just feel like we're getting our life back, man. I'm just happy about it. So yeah, this year, rookie minicamp this weekend. So what to expect? What is going to go on there, and what type of extremely hot takes will we be able to make out of training camp? Rookie minicamp coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. We haven't been able to see this since 19. So
19, yeah,
since
19.
19, yeah, it's
You
coming
was
back.
texting me like, man, I'm really glad we can get back like this season.
Yeah, and it's there's a limited amount of what you can see out there. It's just kind of
Yeah,
you can't put a lot of stock in it. It's just you want to see guys moving around. You want to see how they run, how they play, how they carry themselves, just stuff like that. I don't think you're going to reach a lot of conclusions on anything. Maybe there'll be a couple people invites wise that
oh
flash a
yeah,
little bit, so that those things are kind of notable. But like, there's probably not going to be the comprehensive scouting report on Trevor Penning coming out of one practice exposure without pads in the
no, we
summer.
hot taking, bro. We hot
So
taking it. We hot
so there's that,
taking it.
and if Olave's out there just like dominating against some of these camp invite cornerbacks, that's one thing. I'll be interested to see him and Alante Taylor potentially line up against each other. That would be a major highlight for me, just to see how those two play against one another. I bet that
Yeah,
would probably be pretty good competition, just as
yeah,
far as how they both approach that. So that could be a little bit exciting. But overall, I mean, there's going to be no conclusions drawn, but just seeing how these guys play, being out there. We're going to be back in the locker room being able to do interviews, which is
man, bro,
unbelievable.
man.
Like
19.
yeah, like no, like it was cool doing it on Zoom, but being able to like interview people without other people around is going to be really nice. Like that's something
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that
I know.
used to be able to produce like better content from, build relationships, all that stuff matters. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
going to be good to start that again. A few of these guys like on the team, like the 2020 draft class, like never had a conversation with them like
You don't know
singularly.
him.
Singularly. Yeah. So it's like it's super
Yeah,
weird. Like that it's just completely different.
yeah.
So it's gonna be
Reese,
good to have that coming back
Brightman,
together.
yeah, all
And
those
then
guys.
for the NOF squad, me, Eddie, and DJ will be out there. Got the whole
Hey,
crew. So yeah, we're leveling up. We're gonna be expanding the content team. Um, so that's gonna be cool too. So we'll be it's camp for us too though. We'll get our flow. We got some new people coming in and we'll see how that stuff goes. And then after that, Brandon's gonna be joining the team for camp. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff coming out. So it's gonna be cool for us too as a company.
yeah, and by the way, guys, if you're not following NewOrleans.Football on Twitter, on Instagram, Twitter too, obviously, NOF Network, but the handle is NewOrleans.Football, one word. So make sure you follow him on Instagram. DJ does a lot of good work there. His posts like pretty much all throughout the day and during training camp. Same thing. So all social media, well, those two, and then you guys know where to subscribe. So yeah. Especially training camp this year, rookie mini camp,
And sign up for the
OTA,
website. Sign up for the website, NewOrleans.Football.
please.
That's the URL. Sign
That's
up
the
for it.
main thing to do, right? The one right
Yeah,
there.
it
Right
supports the
there.
show. We got extra podcasts every time. We'll have the schedule tomorrow.
Yeah.
Early, so sign up and get it, and you can read it. And
There you go. If you're into
yeah,
that
so
stuff.
all that stuff. Make sure you sign up. Minicamp insights, OTA insights.
Why are we talking about NOF like
rookie minicamp
last
insights,
week
all that
was
stuff.
last week was crazy. Like the content that we put out last week was pretty wild. So and Nick just go and like get some water or something, but like you just put it against like everybody else, like multiple people together versus I'm just saying. So yeah, just subscribe, man. We got content. We just getting started too. So hopefully you guys like it. Some people will DM me, ask me to talk about some things on the members only pod, and it came up because you guys run that pod. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff we're doing, and we got some real big things we're working on, and so we can't wait to talk about them. And so Nick gave you guys a heads up on one of them. The podcast studio is going to be pretty hot, so that's going to get me back in New Orleans pretty soon. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see that studio and be like, all right, I gotta hit the old road and make the little 7-hour drive. So yeah, man, check us out, follow us, and yeah, we'll be definitely covering Ricky Minicamp this weekend on social media, the website, and everywhere. So follow us. But yeah, this Ricky Minicamp, I'm with you. I don't think there's gonna be no high takes. Trevor Penning, it'd be funny to see him throw somebody to the ground. That'd be. I think they're gonna coach.
He better not.
They're gonna coach it out of him day one. You can't do that in NFL. I think it's cool that he has the mind state to do it, right? But that's not gonna happen in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing about it is, I would. There won't be much video, but just I know for you, and I'll be asking you about it. It's one thing when you see a guy do something live, and that's one thing I learned. Like seeing guys move like just live and close up, it looks and feels different. So just seeing Olave run those routes like live and seeing his footwork and seeing some of the, because you wrote recently about like his route running prowess and how good he's at it and some of the nuance and detail that he uses to create separation. Like he's not just using his athleticism and his physical God-given abilities to get open. He's like running routes like he's been coached by an NFL wide receiver, because he has Brian Hartline, who Nick spoke with and got some details about it. So if you guys are members of NewOrleans.Football, you read that article already. If you're not, then go sign up and read it. But yeah, those are the type of things I want to see. Like Penning has been working with Duke, Manyweather, just working on his technique and stuff like that. So if you're in the old lines and stuff like that, then seeing him continue to progress with his technique and things like that. So those are some of the things you kind of just look for. Like you said, Alontae Taylor, he's a cornerback. You Nick, you do pretty good with cornerbacks. You had a lot of the details on the Debo last year before he kind of started to get into his own. And Malcolm Jenkins backed you up, so I guess you kind of hit that one right. So yeah, those are just some of the things to look for. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be much. I think it's going to be more like, man, it feels good to see this part of football again. I think that'll probably be one of the main takeaways.
Agree 100%.
Yep. All right. So one I guess final thing to kind of get into, and this is something that's interesting. I was trying to find more about Alontae Taylor because there's not a lot there on him. But I was able to find some, just some little stuff, right? You got to like look at teams that played against Tennessee, who offensive player, right? And then got to find him on the field. That's what I got to do. You guys, Nick can probably just type his name in and get some cloak and dagger, a link with the plays in it. But like when you look at the secondary, and I was just thinking about it, I was like, man, there's a lot of versatility there, right? It's a lot of versatility in the secondary. And I think it's just beyond what you can do with, obviously the safeties. When you think of versatility in the secondary, you think of safeties. But, when you look around, you see guys that kind of can wear both hats. You can say PJ Williams is one of those guys who can wear both hats. You see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is another guy who, he can play safety or he can play cornerback, mostly slot, but I think he has some safety skills. Obviously, he played that in college, and he played both in college. And Alontae Taylor also, he's someone who he possesses the skill set to kind of do, a lot of different things in the secondary. You going big nickel, or you going dime, you going dollar, right? That would be interesting if they did some of that this year, which is just another defensive back, 1+ dime. But yeah, just your thoughts on like how they're going to take advantage of a lot of that versatility and how they're going to deploy some of these weapons that they have in the secondary. Because I think DA, I think he has an opportunity to do some different things in the secondary than he normally did. And, he cut his teeth in the NFL in the secondary. So I think it's it's a relatively decent chance that you may see some different wrinkles out of that part of the defense this year.
Maybe a few. I don't think it's going to get that crazy though. I really don't. I think it's just going to be more Honey Badger and May kind of being interchangeable on snaps, so they want them to be. I don't think that you really mess around with the corners on the outside really at all. Maybe you can run some like inverted cover too with some of these guys' coverage skills a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy there. I think PJ's at his best playing in the box. I think Chauncey's at his best covering the slot. I don't think you really want to move CJ to deep safety. I think you keep him where he's at. Maybe every now and then you could maybe have like, those two guys playing aligned a certain way, and it looks like, Chauncey's pressing and he releases them and blitzes and PJ picks him up behind her. So, some little different things like that.
Like a zone exchange or something like that. Maybe. But
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be anything too like chaotic. I think it's just going to kind of be mostly within the safeties. I think is where you get your disguise coverage. Is it 2 or cover 1? Is it and it's just you show 2 and go to 1 and things like that. So I don't think it's going to be anything too outrageous. But you are correct in that they got a lot of flexibility there. They can do some different things, and the craziest things that they're going to do, they'll save for that Tampa Bay game, and they'll bring them out then, and they'll
Poor
work.
Brady, man. Thomas going to have nightmare. He might retire early, but like Amazon, I'm just going to do this in the middle of the season.
Yeah, and they're playing them. They're playing them early in the season too, so we'll see.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be a ramp up period for the safeties to kind of hit their stride? I mean, May's going to be suspended, maybe potentially. I don't want to speak on it too early at the beginning of the season. They lost both of their safeties from last year. So you got, Alante Taylor learning a new scheme. You got Honey Badger learning a new scheme. You got Marcus May learning a new scheme, and he's going to be gone for the first part of the year potentially. And then it just there's a lot
Yeah,
of
there's
moving
definitely.
parts there potentially. So you think it may be a little ramp up period there?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely going to be a ramp up period, and having to play Tampa without May, I think is something that's probably not advantageous to them.
Yeah,
So that's something that they're going to have to kind of figure out early in the season without him. He's so maybe Brady finally gets that regular season win against him, but we're going to see how things kind of play out. But I think it's going to start out and then it'll pick up. It's going to be like if you go back to how it was. Bringing in Malcolm Jenkins, like it kind of upset things a little bit early in the season. I think there's going to be some of that again, just communication wise, getting organized, having everybody on the same page, communication. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as bringing in Malcolm Jenkins because Malcolm Jenkins didn't know how to play cover 4, and last year it was their second most used coverage. The year before that, I believe it was the primary. So it's not necessarily like that, So it's just more of a communication thing. Everybody getting on the same page. I wrote a story kind of breaking down every coverage both those guys have played, May and Honey Badger, and how they kind of sync together. That's on the website. Sign up, pay $9. It's really not that expensive. It's a couple cents a day. But they've all played everything. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue for either one of them. Honey Badger's done everything in his career. Marcus May doesn't have quite as much experience in some of the early in his career he did, but then they got away from playing for in New York. So
we're deep.
We'll see on him. I think he's going to be fine though. I think both of them are going to be fine as far as that. I think it's just playing together, having chemistry and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the good news is that May has played free and strong. Even though I think they view him more as a. I think if you ask the Saints, they would probably view Matthew more as a free and May more as a strong. But I don't think that's going to stop them from using those guys in different positions. Yeah, they're going to say, hey man, and May is like I said. I mean, I know last year he was hurt, and I know it's kind of hard to think about guys like that. And sometimes guys don't come back from injury, so it is fair. But before May got hurt, I remember like there in a lot of circles he was, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but there was people that considered him to be the better of the safeties between Marcus Williams and himself. So he actually got franchised. So it's not like someone who he's. It's not a chump player. This is a good player. He was drafted. I think he was drafted in the second round the same year as Marcus Williams was. So I was actually really excited about that signing when they picked him up. So he's a good player, a young player, and it'll be good to see kind of what they get out of him. I guess the last thing about in the secondary is obviously the open competition between Adebo and Alante Taylor. Just to lay it out, like, what do you think that Adebo, like, if you said this is an area that I think he needs to improve on, and this will probably solidify a spot in the secondary. Like, what are some things that maybe not one or two, or however many you think, right? What are the things that he needs to work on to kind of?
Yeah, it's just one press.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's really it. Like, I think it's just more consistency there. I don't even really think it's like it's just more consistency, coming off the line of scrimmage. And he was too grabby. Like he has to be better at that. Like he was way too grabby.
I was gonna say that one too. Yeah.
And there were a handful of plays last year where he was beaten, the ball didn't go to him. Like, and you saw those things. And I think those are the things that they see when they say, okay, like let's ramp this up and see if there's competition here that can be had. So
yeah,
I think he can be good. But there's a possibility too. I talk about it all the time. Like cornerbacks, I think their seasons get swung by like 5 to 7 plays every year. There's 5 to 7 plays, and if you're on the wrong side of those, all of them, you're going to look really bad. If you're on the right side of them, you're going to look probably better than you actually are. If you're just kind of riding the rails and holding on for it, and if you're in the middle, I think that's kind of like the true look at how somebody is. So 2017, Crawley is on the right side of those 5 to 7 plays. The next year he isn't. Eli Apple comes in. He's on the right side of those plays early on. Then he isn't. And it's a problem. Same thing happened with Janoris Jenkins. And then he isn't. And so I think it takes a few years to really get a feel for who somebody is at cornerback, unless they come in and they look absolutely elite. And, I think a team can see it probably a little more clearly than people that aren't NFL football coaches can see fairly enough. But I think it takes us a little bit more evidence to kind of maybe get caught up on that evaluation. And when they do something like this, I kind of look at their actions to kind of to educate my opinions and okay, what did I miss What
Right.
do I need to look at? And
As you should, yeah.
yeah, so their actions are telling me that they're seeing something that maybe we didn't highlight enough. So
Mhm.
now it's our job to go back in and find out what that stuff is, and we will, because the off season's long, and
Ooh,
that's a
Paulson and
project.
Debo,
Yeah,
film
that's
study coming soon.
that's a project we'll do at some point.
We know
But
that's coming.
those are the conversations we got to have, and that we got to look at, and then kind of
Mhm.
inform him a little bit. I think he can still be a good player. I think he has upside, but they're telling you, like, as I said before, he didn't close the door on the idea of using a second round pick on a cornerback, and until you do that, you gotta fight. And
Yeah.
look, I think the best outcome will be for him to fight, win the job, and have Alontae Taylor right behind him, pushing the whole time. And now you got really good
Proven
depth at that
players.
position. That's
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would be a great outcome for them, and hopefully he uses that pick as motivation, and
Yeah.
keeps ascending.
Yeah, I think the message is sent. If you're at corner and they draft a corner in the second round,
Right. Yeah. If
yeah,
you're Zach, he ain't Zach Bond at all. Not even making that comparison, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
when Zach Bond watches them draft Pete Werner, they're saying something to Zach Bond, and they're saying something, and it might not even be insulting to Paulson and Debo, but they're saying, okay, you got to fight to keep your job, and that's a very clear message. Yeah. So
Competition.
yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I think you said it, like they saw it happen with Crawley, 1 year good, 1 year bad. Eli Apple, 1 year good, 1 year bad. Jonas Jenkins, 1 year good. Next year, I wouldn't say he was bad, but
Yeah, it wasn't the same.
it wasn't the same, right? And so, I mean, I know they don't evaluate like that, but yeah, I mean, it is something that, and that's a position where you're one injury away from basically, losing, 10 spots in your defensive rankings, right? Because that's such an important position, specifically how they play football. So yeah, that's a really exciting matchup to me. I'm really intrigued by that cornerback matchup. I know last year it was like a big deal where it's like, oh man, like who's going to play that spot? And this year it's kind of like, okay, well, you got a guy who's been there, but there's still competition there, and that's fun, right? I think it's always good to have a few camp battles. That's one of few. It's not that many of them this year, it seems, unfortunately. Maybe like wide receiver number 3, or something like that, Sam linebacker, et cetera. But it is, at least we know we got a good camp battle coming up, and so I've been interested in seeing how both of those guys respond. So, yeah. All right, man. That's all we got tonight. You guys, chat. You guys are still showing up. We appreciate you guys joining us here live as always. If you're not part of NewOrleans.Football, if you're not a subscriber, I promise you that we're delivering, man. We're delivering, and we're doing a lot. And Nick is writing a lot. I can tell you that for sure. And we're always trying to improve what we're doing on this platform. We're working on like the presentation, even for this podcast. It's like just details, songs, intros, outros, social media. It's we're leaving no stone unturned. So, yeah, man, just check us out. Subscribe to the website. The link is right there on the screen. NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. And support us, man. Members only pod is every week. I know a lot of people, they always tell me how much they love podcasts, and extra podcast is, golden. By the way, during the season, there is a third podcast, right? So after every game, we record,
we do.
and talk about that. So
I forgot we do that.
I forgot we do it too, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just so much content, right? And I'll finish by saying this, we don't like singles and doubles. We like home runs. And so that's how we swing for it. So yeah, man, thank you guys for supporting us. We appreciate it. Everybody in chat, you guys continue to show up. You guys continue to shoot me DMs about what you guys want us to talk about, especially with the off season coming up, because man, that is like super dry season. So you guys become like the curators of this podcast pretty much. So thank you guys for support. You guys be good. We'll see you next week. We out.
Nick and Kev, I got you. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's
I boss you. Seated back there, and yeah, we got the badger. Don't forget my shun, and don't forget the pass rush. James QB1 dropping down to MT. Ball handed off the Alvin with the quick feet. So when you see the Saints marching, yeah, we gon' trouble you. At the Super Bowl party, eating on them double. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing, and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing, and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to